What is up, guys? In this video I'm going to be talking about the RTX 3060 Ti. I know this might not be the perfect timing considering the supply shortages for graphics cards and latest processors, but in case you're looking for something to purchase in the future once these shortages are over, or if you just like to watch the videos like I do where there are different pieces of tech being compared, and maybe like you keep in the back of your head that you're gonna purchase it someday, then it's great that you stopped by, and let's get started with this video. Now, before I start, I just wanted to say that I'm no big YouTuber and I didn't get contacted by the manufacturer or any retailer to get my RTX 3060 Ti, and honestly I think I got a little bit lucky with a little bit of persistence, and if you stay till the end of the video, I'm going to tell you how I was able to get RTX 3060 Ti myself, and a couple more tips on what you can do to get one even during these times. So stay tuned till the end. But normally, when I choose any type of tech, let it be a smartphone, a smartwatch, PC component, or any other type of tech, I look at the several factors. One of the first factors that I look at is the specs. So if the specs make sense to me, like the core clock, memory, storage, any other features, like let it be if it's a smartphone, if it's waterproof, does it have reverse wireless charge, all this kind of stuff, I look at the specs. So if the specs make sense to me, then the next thing I look at is the price. If the price makes sense for the specs, then it might be a candidate for me to get one myself. And only after that, I'm gonna look at the real life performance, like I read the reviews or I watch the reviews to see how it performs in real life. Like for instance, for the graphics cards, I would look at the frames per seconds in games, I would look at the productivity performance, and only after that I make the decision whether I should purchase certain piece of tech or not. So we're just gonna start with the specs for the card, and we're gonna go on with the gaming performance, and then we're gonna look at the productivity. The same way I would do my own research, I'm gonna try to structure this video the same way, so you guys can get some value out of it, and you might find it fun and entertaining as well. So let's get started. So let's talk about the specs. So GeForce RTX 3060 Ti is the latest Ampere architecture of the Nvidia graphics cards, and the first thing that you would probably look at, and I would look at in case of Nvidia graphics cards, is Cuda Cores. And the amount of Cuda Cores for the 3060 Ti is actually 4864 Cuda Cores, with the base clock of 1.41 GHz and the boost clock of 1.67 GHz. It features 8GB GDDR6 memory with the memory interface width of 256 bit. It has second generation ray tracing cores and third generation tensor cores. It also features 7th generation Nvidia encoder and 5th generation Nvidia decoder, and of course it's VR ready. On the back of the cards there are actually 4 ports, there are 3 display ports and 1 HDMI 2.1. Latest generation of Nvidia cards is built on the 8nm architecture, which means that it requires less power and it produces less heat. So in case of 3060 Ti, as you can see, the graphics card power required is only 200 watts, while the overall minimum system requirement for this card, built based around this card, is 600 watts. Okay, now let's go ahead and compare the RTX 3060 Ti to the previous generation of 2000 series cards from Nvidia. So if you look at the slide here, you can see that the RTX 3060 Ti is retailing for $399 US, which is on par with the previous generation RTX 2060 Super. And as you can see from the graph, the architecture is Ampere compared to the previous Turin architecture. If you look at the Cuda cores, RTX 3060 Ti has the most amount of Cuda cores compared to any other graphics card, even RTX 2080 Ti from the previous generation of Nvidia graphics cards. 4,864 cores compared to 4,352 Cuda cores on RTX 2080 Ti, which is almost 500 more Cuda cores for RTX 3060 Ti. And the base and boost clock is approximately the same across the previous generation cards compared to RTX 3060 Ti, and the boost clock is also around the same. All of these cards feature GDDR6 memory, and almost all of them are 8 gigabytes except for the RTX 2060, which was 6 gigabytes, and RTX 2080 Ti, which is 11 gigabytes, so it's 3 gigabytes of VRAM more than RTX 3060 Ti. The other thing is that the memory bus or memory interface width is 256-bit, which is on par with the almost all the graphics cards from the previous generation, except for the RTX 2080 Ti, which has a higher 352 memory bus width, and RTX 2060, which has less memory width of 192. For the RTX 2080 Ti having higher memory width actually provides more memory bandwidth, which I think plays an important role when playing games. We're going to take a look at that further in the video. Right, now let's take a look at how RTX 3060 Ti compares to the other 3000 series NVIDIA graphics cards. First, let's take a look at the price. So, as I already mentioned, the RTX 3060 Ti retails for $399 US, which is $70 more expensive than RTX 3060, $100 cheaper than RTX 3070 that retails for $499 US, $300 cheaper than RTX 3080, and almost $1,100 cheaper than RTX 3090. Obviously, all of these cards are built with the latest Ampere architecture. Now, let's take a look at Cuda cores. So, RTX 3060 Ti has 4,864 Cuda cores, which is almost 1,300 more than the RTX 3060, almost 1,000 less than RTX 3070, almost 4,000 less than RTX 3080, and over 5,000 less than RTX 3090. As you can see, RTX 3090 has 10,496 CUDA cores, which is a massive amount of CUDA cores. If you will look at the base and boost clock, they're relatively the same, with a slight difference, with the RTX 3060 Ti having the lowest boost clock and almost on par base clock compared to the rest of the cards. Looking at the memory, all of the cards have GDDR6 memory, except for RTX 3080 and 3090, which has GDDR6X, and RTX 3060 Ti comes with 8 GB of memory, which is the same as RTX 3070. It has 4 GB less than RTX 3060, 2 GB less than RTX 3080, and 16 gigabytes less than RTX 3090, which packs massive 24 gigabyte of GDDR6X memory. In terms of memory bus or memory interface width, it has 256-bit, which is the same as RTX 3070. RTX 3060 has 192-bit, which is less than RTX 3060 Ti, and RTX 3080 and RTX 3090 have 320 and 384-bit respectively, which is much higher than RTX 3060 Ti. Right, now that we looked at the specs and how it compares to the other Nvidia 3000 series graphics cards and the previous generation 2000 Nvidia graphics cards. Let's take a look at the gaming performance, because most of you would be buying this card for gaming. So I put together a couple of slides that are going to show you a comparison to the previous generation graphics cards and the current 3000 series generation of the Nvidia graphics cards, and also a couple of comparisons to the AMD's Radeon RX cards, just to let you guys make a better decision if you decide to purchase this card compared to RX 5700 or 5700 XT. All these slides are going to be comparing mainly 1440p with a couple of 4K FPS comparisons in certain games. So we're going to start with 3060 Ti against 2060 Super at 1440p, and the reason I chose 2060 Super is because it's the same price the previous generation Nvidia graphics card, so it makes sense. It wouldn't make sense for me to compare 2060 because it has much weaker performance compared to 2060 Super, and it's a cheaper card. So we're gonna start with 3060 Ti versus 2060 Super at 4040p, and as you can see, on average, RTX 3060 Ti is about at least 21 to 28% faster in most of the games compared to RTX 2060 Super, with the biggest difference in Microsoft Flight Simulator and Cyberpunk, which is 28% faster than the RTX 2060 Super. In the games with the highest FPS, which is Death Stranding and Forza Horizon 4, the RTX 3060 Ti is 21.4% faster and 26.7% faster, respectively. Now let's take a look at the RTX 3060 Ti versus RTX 2070 Super at 1440p average FPS. And again, I chose 2070 Super instead of 2070 because it's 2070 and 2070 Super is a similar price card. So I'm just going to compare it to what you can get for the best version you can get for your money with the previous generation to 3060 compared to 3060 Ti. And as you can see, there's actually the differences spread widely in some of the games, like in the Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. The performance increase is only 3.7%, and in other games like Cyberpunk or Watch Dogs Legion, performance boost is actually 15% and 16.3% higher FPS on average for 3060 Ti compared to 2070 Super. So yeah, you just gotta look at specific games. If you're planning to buy for a specific game, just pay attention to the slide or go through it and check what you would, if you need the best FPS for your buck for a certain game in this case. Next, let's take a look at the RTX 3060 Ti versus RTX 2070 Super at 4K. So in this case, the differences are pretty much around, I would say, 12% on average, with some games reaching 16% increase, like Horizon Zero Dawn. But for the most part, pretty much the difference is around 11 to 12% in terms of performance increase at 4K, slightly less for Kingdom Come Deliverance, which is 10%, and Forza Horizon 4 RTX 3060 Ti has a 14.4% increase in FPS compared to RTX 2070 Super at 4K. Next thing, we're going to compare it against 2080 Super at 1440p, and as you can see here, the difference is around 5 to 9%, depending on the game, with the Forza Horizon Zero Dawn having the highest increase of 9.1%, and Red Dead Redemption having the smaller increase in performance of 4.7%. So on average, I would say it's about a 6% increase across compared games. Now let's take a look at RTX 3060 Ti versus RTX 2080 Super at 4K. And as you can see, there is some significant discrepancies game to game. Like in this case, Red Dead Redemption has only 2.3. Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm sorry, has only 2.3% increase in performance for RTX 3060 Ti compared to 2080 Super. Microsoft Flight Simulator has 3.2% increase, and Forza Horizon 4 has 3.5% increase in performance, which is not very much. But the other games like Watch Dogs Legion or Assassin's Creed Valhalla has 13.2% increase, with Horizon Zero Dawn having 10.9% increase. And now let's take a look at how RTX 3060 Ti compares to RTX 2080 Ti. So as we can see, and I'm gonna take you back to the slide where I was showing the specs for RTX 3060 compared to 2080 Ti. Now, as you can see, I think in this case, despite RTX 3060 Ti having 500 more Cuda cores, and the fact that these Cuda cores are actually better Cuda cores, because that matters as well, and it's a new generation of Cuda cores. RTX 2080 Ti still manages to outperform 3060 Ti in terms of performance, in terms of FPS, across all the games that you can see on this slide. And I think the reason for that is being the higher memory bus, because higher memory bus provides better memory bandwidth. In other words, it lets your card read and store files a higher volume at a faster speed. So, and that's what RTX 2080 Ti is doing better, even though the processing power, the computing power of the cores is lower. It's still able to push more volume at a better speed. That's why I think the performance of the RTX 2080 Ti, of course there is a bunch more other factors that play a role in this, but I think that's one of the main factors. So if we look at the memory bandwidth, the RTX 3060 Ti only manages to have 448 gigabyte per second, while RTX 2080 Ti has 616 gigabyte per second. And that's a significant difference, and that's what I think is the main driver behind this increase in performance for the RTX 2080 Ti compared the newer generation Ampere architecture 3060 Ti. So as you can see across the games, on average, RTX 2080 Ti has, I would say, around 11% better performance. Some games have 10.1% increase, like Watch Dogs Legion. The other ones, like Battlefield 5 and Horizon Zero Dawn, has 13.4 and 14.6 increase in performance. So on average, I would say around 11%. RTX 2080 Ti has better performance in terms of FPS for games. Now let's take a look at the 4K. So as we can see at the 4K, the difference is about the same. I would say on average it's around 11%. In some games having slightly almost comparable performance, like in case of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it's only 4.9% that RTX 2080 Ti has better performance. But in other cases it's around 11%, like in games like PUBG, The Witcher 3, Hitman 2, Battlefield 5, Kingdom Come Deliverance, and Microsoft Flight Simulator. Okay, now let's take a look at how RTX 3060 Ti compares to the other 3000 series graphics card in terms of FPS for games. So let's take a look at 3060 Ti against 3060 at 1440p. So as you can see, on average, I would say RTX 3060 Ti is 20% faster than RTX 3060. and compare that the price difference is $70, I would say RTX 3060 Ti at this point in time is a better buy than 3060, despite RTX 3060 having a higher VRAM, which is 12 gigabyte of VRAM, but lower amount of Cuda cores, lower memory bus. That's what I think does not allow RTX 3060 Ti to come close to RTX 3060 Ti. Alright, now let's take a look at how RTX 3060 Ti compares to RTX 3070. As you can see, on average, I would say RTX 3060 Ti is 10% slower than RTX 3070. Considering the price of RTX 3070 being $100 more, or if you calculate the percentage, that would be 25% more than RTX 3060 Ti. I would say that RTX 3060 Ti is still a better value for your buck. Because you're getting only 10% less performance on average, but you're saving also 25% of the price. But if you want to go for a little bit higher spec and a little bit better productivity and a little bit higher FPS in games, yes, RTX 3070 is also a good buy. But in terms of bang for your buck, I would say RTX 3060 Ti is a little better compared to RTX 3070. Now let's take a look at the RTX 3060 Ti comparison versus RTX 3080 at 1440p. And as you can see, there is some significant differences here in terms of frames per second, average frames per second. On average, I would say, well, it ranges honestly from 25% to, in some cases, you can see almost 44%. Like in case of Dirt 5, it's almost 44% decrease in performance for RTX 3060 Ti compared to RTX 3080. Most of the games like Horizon Zero Dawn, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, it's around 25% less performance. Control 32% less performance. The smallest difference is going to be for the Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is 21.8% decrease in performance. So I would say on average, let's say around 28 to 30% probably ish. Considering that the price of the RTX 3080 is $699 US, this is almost a 75% increase in price compared to RTX 3060 Ti. I'm sorry, and so again, you're getting in this case 30% more performance for 75%, or I should say 175% of the price of the RTX 3060 Ti. So in this case, again, it's up to you. If you want absolute best performance and you're willing to pay such a high ratio of the price compared to the performance increase, then yeah, absolutely go for it. I think RTX 3080 is the best value for your buck in terms of high priced cards, because RTX 3090 is just almost twice the price of the RTX 3080, and honestly, it's not twice the performance. So, and we're gonna look at it in a bit. So let's go ahead and take a look at it right now. If we look at the FPS for RTX 3060 Ti versus RTX 3090, you can see that on average it's also around 30% performance loss for RTX 3060 Ti compared to RTX 3090, but the RTX 3060 Ti costs almost 3 times less than RTX 3090, and as you can see in some games like Cyberpunk, the decrease in performance is only 18.1%, but yeah, at this point in time, you just have to make a decision whether you want to get absolute best performance for 3 times the price. Now that we looked at the comparison of the RTX 3060 Ti to the other 3000 series Nvidia cards, let's take a look at the RTX 3060 Ti compared to 5700 XT and RX 6800. So comparing the similar priced, or actually 5700 XT is a little bit more expensive than RTX 3060 Ti. We can see that there is a mix of performance here. RTX 3060 Ti is performing better in games such as Forza Horizon 4, Horizon Zero Dawn just a little bit, and Microsoft Flight Simulator and Cyberpunk 2077. However, it has slightly worse performance in the games such as Battlefield 5, Red Dead Redemption 2 by 3.3%. And actually significant less performance for Assassin's Creed Valhalla of 12.7%. So yeah, at this point in time, you just gotta decide which game you want to play the most, if you want to get the best performance for that game, and if you want if that's what you need, then you gotta make your decision based on that. But yeah, I would say they're pretty much on par, but I would still go for the RTX 3060 Ti considering how it's the latest generation of Nvidia graphics cards, and it provides better performance in terms of productivity, not just gaming. Now let's take a look at the RTX 3060 Ti compared to the latest generation of AMD RX 6800 graphics card, in this case RX 6800. So as you can see, RX 6800 retails for $649, which is more than 50% of the price of the RTX 3060 Ti. So as you can see, there are quite significant discrepancy in terms of the performance decrease of the RTX 3060 Ti compared to RX 6800. As you can see, the smallest difference is for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order of 10.9%. Then Watch Dogs Legion 9.6% decrease, with the biggest one being the Resident Evil 3 remake of 24.5% decrease, and The Witcher 3, which is 23% decrease. Of course, the RX 6800 was tested without the latest AMD 5000 graphics card with a SAM, without the SAM, a smart access memory. So yeah, probably if you were to pair it with the latest generation with the smart access memory enabled, the performance for the RX 6800 might have been even a little bit higher. But as you can see, the price is almost 60% more for the RX 6800, but the performance is, in the best case scenario, is around 25%. So at this point in time, again, if you wanted the best performance for your buck, you're gonna pay the price, which is a lot higher than the best price that you can get for the money that you pay. Alright, so as you can see from multiple slides that I've shown you, for the most part, RTX 3060 Ti is one of the cheapest and the best buys for me personally, and maybe for you if you're looking for the best value for your buck, because you get the most performance for the money that you pay. And if you want the best performance, of course, you're gonna go higher tier graphics cards like 3070, 3080. If the money is no problem and you don't need the best value for your buck, you just want absolute best performance, then yeah, go ahead for the higher graphics. If I had the money laying around just to waste on graphics cards, I would definitely do that. I would even buy 3090 without a doubt. But if you're looking for the best value for your buck, you could see that based on the performance and the value and the frames per dollar, RTX 3060 Ti is absolutely the best buy right now. So now that we looked at the gaming performance, let's take a look at the productivity. I would say for the most people it's going to be content creation. So basically I'm just going to show you some of the benchmarks from the Puget systems. and it's going to be about the Adobe Premiere Pro. So the first thing that we're going to look at, the first slide, is going to be standard export score for Adobe Premiere Pro. And as you can see, RTX 3060 Ti is right in the middle. It has significantly better performance than RX 5700 XT, and it has slightly better performance than more expensive latest generation RX 6800 and 6800 XT graphics cards. It only falls behind the RTX 3070, RTX 2080 Ti, and RTX 3080 and 3090. And in case you're wondering what this slide is about, this is about exporting after you've done your video. This is about exporting your video or saving it to your computer so you can share it, upload it, or do whatever you want to do with that video. The next thing we're going to look at is the standard live playback score, and in this case it has the lowest, but it doesn't fall far behind the RX 5700 XT. As you can see, 77 and 78.4% respectively, and the best is RX 6800 XT, 16 gigabytes of VRAM, with the score of 84.6. So the standard live playback score is when you put if you worked in Adobe Premiere Pro or any other video editing software, you know that when you put all your videos on the timeline, you have the ability to play it back after you apply all the effects, and this is what it is about, how good it renders all the video clips together with the effects applied to them. The next thing we're going to look at is export score for the H.264 codec, which is one of the most popular codecs to export your video, and it's a really resource demanding codec to export with. So as you can see, RTX 3060 Ti is right in the middle. It's significantly better than the Radeon RX 5700 XT. It is also I would say significantly better than RX 6800 XT and 6800, which is a much higher priced Radeon graphics cards. And the reason for that is because Adobe is better designed for Nvidia graphics cards, but with the RX 6800 XT and 6800 being out right now, and there being promising graphics cards, I can see that Adobe might optimize better for these cards as well. But at this point in time, Nvidia graphics cards, and in particular RTX 3060 Ti, is a really good card if you're using it for working in Adobe, and I'm expecting about the same result for any other video or photo editing software. Now let's take a look at the next slide, which is the GPU score. In this case, GPU score is the it's a score. In this case, GPU score is the score that defines how fast the graphics card can process the GPU accelerated effects in Adobe Premiere Pro. Like some example, like for instance, we can apply noise, we can apply opacity, color replacement. Some of these effects in Adobe Premiere Pro are GPU driven. So this shows you how fast it processes all these GPU driven GPU accelerated effects compared to the other cards. And as you can see, it's almost 41% faster than the 5700 XT. It almost on par with 6800 XT and 6800, and significantly falls behind 3090 and 3080 Nvidia graphics cards. Now, which brings us to our overall score, and the overall score is 990, which is more than 5% better than the RX 5700 XT, slightly better, which is surprising, than the RX 6800, just a little bit behind 6800 XT, and obviously slightly worse than the higher end 3000 series Nvidia graphics cards. Okay, now that we looked at the score, I'm going to show you a couple of export clips just so you can see for yourself how what is the export speed for a couple of videos that I made earlier. One of them being the video about the AMD Ryzen 5 3600, and the other is about Lian Li Lankel 2. So if we look at the video about Ryzen 5 3600, the video length is 11.5 minutes, and it has only a couple of small effects applied and a little bit of color correction layer, and the video is taken about 6 minutes to export with H.264 codec applied. The next one being is the video that I made about Lian Li Lankel 2, which is does not have any effects. It's around 16 minutes, and it's gonna take about 12 minutes to export. Alright, so we looked at the specs, we looked at the price, we compared it to the previous generation 2000 Nvidia graphics card, we compared it to the current generation 3000 Nvidia graphics card. We also did comparison to the AMD's previous similarly priced graphics card like 5700 XT, and also to the current generation Nvidia, Radeon graphics card, which is RX 6800 and 6800 XT, in terms of gaming and in terms of productivity. So as I promised, I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna tell you how I was able to get my 3060 Ti during this time. Actually, I'm gonna tell you a little story how this happened. So when I first heard about the RTX 3060 Ti coming out, and it was I believe it was December 2nd, and I got really excited because I looked at the specs. The same thing I did. I looked at the specs. I looked at the price. And I was like, this looks like a good card, and it looks like based on the specs it would be a really good buy, and it turned out to be that it is a really good buy. But the problem is supply shortages, scalpers, and it turns out when I was ready early in the morning, I believe it was 9 Central Standard Time, I woke up like an hour or two in advance, and I was waiting for that launch, and I was gonna go for the one that I actually got. I was gonna go for the Founders Edition 3060 Ti. I was super excited, and I was trying to check out on Best Buy, and as soon as the process is just insane on Best Buy. Like you add it to your cart, then you select location where you're gonna pick it up. By the time I select location, it said it would be so many people were buying, and the bots that scalpers set up were buying, that I was just not. I was at it for 2 or 3 hours until, and they were releasing it in patches. They were releasing it in batches, and it's just I wasn't able to get one myself, and I was honestly upset. And at that point in time, I bought 8 gigabyte RX 580 for $230 from Amazon. I was like, okay, I'm probably not gonna get it anymore. And I was ready. It was December 5th, I believe, or around that time. It was like 3 or 4 days after I wasn't able to get my 3060 Ti on the launch date. But I still set up a bunch of notifications, and this one notification from hotstock.io is actually the one. I was just sitting on my computer doing my stuff, and I got this notification from hotstock.io, and it's a 3060 Ti available at Best Buy. So I clicked on it. It was a desktop notification. I clicked on it, and it was in stock. So I quickly clicked add to cart as quick as I could, and it got added to cart. I started checking out, and it was asking me for a password and login to Best Buy, and I used the password manager to save that stuff. So I was like, okay, fill it in automatically. I don't even know my password, fill it in, and it turns out it wouldn't accept it. I was like, how's it possible? Like, I'm using the password manager. I started freaking out because I was like, man, I added it to cart. And then I clicked again, fill in, clicked again, sign in, and it didn't sign in again. So I was like, okay, I think this is gonna be gone as well. So I was like, okay, well, let me do it anyway. So I quickly reset my password, and after resetting my password and logging in, the card was still in the cart. So I was like, man, that's awesome. So I quick check out as fast as I could, and after I got to checkout, I selected the location, which is the closest Best Buy that I have right here, and I was able to proceed. And when I landed on the confirmation page, I was like, that's it, I got the card. And it was, I believe, December 8th. It was like 5 or 6 days after. I didn't even unpack, I didn't even take the protective film of my RX 5800, which was a good thing because later on I just returned that card without taking the protective film, without actually taking it out. And in 2 or 3 days, I was already picking up my card. And that was awesome. Like, that was the best. And yeah, so my advice, sign up for as many in-stock notification alerts as possible. Like hotstock.io is the one that got me. I also was in the group which called on Discord chat, which is called stock drops, but I never had I never had any luck getting the card from there, because anytime they would post something, there would be so many people that I think, or bots, I don't know, that I would click and it never in stock. Even though they just drop it, I click it, it's not in stock. But hotstock.io was actually able to get me the card, so that's the one I would recommend. Another option that you can do if you're in the US, there is Micro Center, and there are people, they're getting small amounts of cards every day, I would say. I think they said every day. So you can actually go and put a tent or just wait outside overnight in case you're like absolutely crazy and you need the card. You can do that too. And that's another way. And yeah, just sign up for as many alerts as you can find, or go wait outside the Micro Center overnight or something like that. And I'm pretty sure if you're persistent, you'll be able to get one yourself, even during these times. But if not, if there is no rush, you can just wait and for the supply to finally get better. So yeah, that was it, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you found it informative. Maybe somebody found it entertaining. So if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, click the notification bell, and please sign up for more content. I'm going to be posting more videos in the future. So thank you so much again, guys, and I'll see you all in the next time.